Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new Fallout 76 video. So, I've been sitting on this one for a couple of weeks, and I'm really happy to be able to bring it to you now. We now have details of the next update coming to Fallout 76. It's releasing in early December. It will be called Burning Springs, and amongst other things, will feature a large new map expansion off to the west across the Ohio River, and the arrival of, amongst others, the ghoul from the TV show. And yes, he will be voiced by Walton Goggins, which should be really, really cool when he arrives in early December. So obviously a tie-in to Season 2 there as well. So, looking forward to this one. I've been a little bit less than enthusiastic about a couple of updates recently, but this one has got me tentatively excited for the update. So, looking forward to, can't wait for December. And yeah, it should be coming out tomorrow on the PTS, so that's the 2nd of October. So yeah, very, very cool. Definitely be diving in. Anyway, before I go any further, I have some important information to impart, which is that this is a more or less sponsored video. I feel like sponsored is not really the right word for this, but in the absence of a better one, we'll stick with that for now. Many of you may be aware I've had a working relationship of sorts with Bethesda for the last couple of years, and yeah, they've sent me lots of nice things, and sorted me out with a whole bunch of the more expensive bits and pieces that occur in-game as well, so that would have cost me a fair bit if I'd had to deal with it myself. So definitely grateful for that. That being said, despite providing a lot of materials for this video, they're not getting any advanced viewing of it or any input on it. Everything is my thoughts, as many of you will be aware from recent videos. I've had plenty to say on the criticism side, just as much as compliments when I think they're due. So yeah, if you want to take that with a grain of salt, that is up to you, but with that out of the way, shall we push on? So, yeah, Burning Springs. Since the summer, this has been teased as being arguably the biggest update 76 has ever had, and that sort of thing. Honestly, I don't think it's the biggest update 76 has ever had, and I was saying back in June that I didn't think it would be either. It is big, there's no denying that. Biggest? Nah. But they've kind of walked that back a little bit anyway, to be fair to them. It's pretty huge, though. It's definitely bigger than the Skyline Valley update was, so that is also quite cool. And yeah, I wasn't expecting anything insane, and I am definitely satisfied with the scale of what we're getting here. Features in general as to what's going to be appearing in this update. We have the new map expansion, as I said, across the river in Ohio. And yeah, it's kind of a hostile desert wasteland, which you may notice, if you are familiar with the area, is quite a contrast to the real-world eastern side of Ohio, which is more foresty than deserty. So yeah, there are lore reasons in-game as to why that has changed, and it's sort of been done to tie with the show, which is a smidge on the gimmicky side here and there, but it looks like they've done it in a pretty cool and fun way. So yeah, they've come up with lore reasons for it. This is the first time Ohio's really been touched on in any Fallout game, so it kind of works from that perspective as well. There is a whole new storyline, whole new quest line for the new region as well, so we'll be working through that once we get there. As per usual, of course, it's a sort of one and done type deal. It's you know, you run through it on a character and that's the story done. If you want to do it again, you need another character. But there are a whole load of repeatable types of content added to the area as well. There are new factions, a couple of, which should be cool, obviously tied into the story and beyond as well. There are 2 new public events as well coming into the area, and a new feature called Bounty Hunting, which is tied into the ghoul of the TV show fame. And yeah, that looks like it'll be a fun new repeatable bit of content, which should be reasonably familiar in how it operates to experienced players of 76, but also bring something new and repeatable to engage with, which at this point I think was definitely a welcome addition. And of course, on the end of all that, there will be Season 23 arriving with the update as well, and that will be called Blood and Rust, which should be interesting and should tie into the area that we're looking at. So yeah, just to touch on that again, obviously one of the highlight features of the new update is the presence of the ghoul from the TV show in the Ohio region, and a little bit in the Appalachia region as well. He will be crossing the river here and there. From what I have seen from B-roll footage, it looks like his presence in Appalachia will be more of a talking signpost kind of a setup, but he will be in a few spots here and there, and you will be able to meet him. That said, if you go to his location in Burning Springs, which we'll get to in more details in a bit, you'll be able to actually interact with him more fully. And yes, he is voiced by Walton Goggins, the actor from the show, so definitely quite cool. For those wondering, there is a 200-year time difference between Fallout 76 and the events of the TV show, so he's got plenty of time to cross between California and Ohio and back again, probably several times if he really wants to. So yeah, no issues with that. It's a much younger version of the ghoul. Not that you'll be able to tell, what with him being a ghoul and all. So as a sort of overview of the impression, the whole area kind of draws on some of the pre-existing games, the single-player games, so particularly Fallout 3 and New Vegas for inspiration. It still feels like Fallout 76, but when you look at the level design in particular, you can kind of see that they were going for inspiration from those two games in particular, and it does show, and I think they've managed to do that quite well. There are a few areas where they've definitely drawn on the show at the same time. There is a Super Duper Mark, for example, which ties into both the show and the games, that maybe gets a little bit too close to the show in a couple of areas, in my view, but looks like it's going to be a fun area to explore anyway, so as do a lot of the other spots as well. The whole area is, as I say, a desert, which is explained in lore terms in the game. I'm not going to share that here, because bit of a spoiler, you can kind of find that out for yourself. But there is an explanation as to why a formerly forested region of the world is now very much a desert, complete with sandstorms and the whole lot. So it looks like it'll be a fun and interesting area to explore. It definitely ties into the tone of the show as well, with its move to New Vegas for Season 2. So there's a nod in that direction. It's a bit of a weird tie-in a way for me, given that they've had to change the whole landscape for it. But if we set that aside for a moment, it does look like, from a purely playing the game standpoint, that it should be good fun. So yeah, looking forward to jumping into that once the PTS opens, which should hopefully be tomorrow. So for the sort of gameplay features, as a quick overview of those as well, my impression so far is that the story looks like it should be a fun and interesting thing to get into. It's I don't know if exactly a darker tone is the right word, but it's definitely harsher in tone than some of the stories in Appalachia are, and that kind of aligns with moving a little bit in the inspirational direction of New Vegas for that. Definitely a big faction thing, and that should be quite cool. The new gameplay elements, so the two new public events, which will be going into rotation in that 20-minute cycle, top of the hour, 20 past 22. Those look like fun additions. One looks more interesting than the other, but they both look solid, so that's cool. And the new bounty hunting feature, again, I think it's going to add a nice, fun, sort of repeatable thing to do in a couple of different ways, and it's got loads of different unique rewards to come with it, and that should be cool. Bit of a question there as to how much lifespan a repeatable feature is ever going to have, when you do the same thing over and over. Eventually you're going to get bored. So we'll see how long they can stave that off for, but there are some really fun bits to that we'll have a look at in a minute. So yeah, overall, I'm thinking Burning Springs should be quite fun and a nice and much needed addition to something that has gotten a little stale in terms of the gameplay elements to me in the last year or two. So yeah, definitely nice to have this. Looking forward to it. So for those who want a few more details on this, a bit of a deeper dive, we'll sort of break this down a bit further now. Story first up. So I'm going to avoid spoilers here because that seems like the reasonable thing to do. You'll be crossing the river and you'll get ambushed by a group of raiders. That's about as far as I'm going to go with that. And that'll kick off the new sort of region storyline, the main quest, as it were, for Burning Springs. And yeah, it looks cool. There's a new faction there called the Rust Raiders, I think they're called. But they're led by a guy called the Rust King. And he's quite the intimidating fella and an interesting character. It looks like it'd be cool to explore that. And it looks like it sets off a campaign to free Burning Springs from the tyranny of this rather large and well-organised raider gang. It looks like a decent story. It looks like it should be good fun. Looking forward to pushing on with that. I get a sneaking suspicion that there will be no choosing of sides in it, though. Largely because this is a multiplayer game with a shared world space. So, you can't go to any given location and have two players who've made different choices and resulting in the dominance of a different faction, for example. Raiders versus not Raiders. Then you arrive in the same place and it would be completely different at the same time. You get a bit of a paradox issue going on there. So I suspect it will be a single side that you have to stick with. But nonetheless, the approach to it and the tone of it looks like it should be quite good fun. And a deep dive into the new area and the people who live there and their experiences, which should be cool. So, speaking of the new region in general, it looks to be a pretty good size. You can see across the Ohio River there is a pretty large chunk of land that doesn't exist in the game world at the moment. That has all been converted to the new region, and it's a decent size. It's quite portrait, a bit like, say, the Savage Divide is in terms of its running up and down the map. Although in scale, it's somewhere between bigger than the Maya, but smaller than the Savage Divide. It's supposed to be bigger than Skyline Valleys as well, so that should be pretty cool. It's got some really, really interesting looking locations in it that I'm looking forward to diving in and exploring. You've got Highway Town is the main central focus for players. It's a little settlement focused around a freeway overpass. Sort of most of it is on the overpass, though some of it is down on ground level as well. It looks like a fun kind of very Fallout shantytown-esque. The obvious comparison would be something like Diamond City, but it is a bit different to that as well. But yeah, there are a couple of similarities there. There are shops and bars and things like that in there. It looks to be an internal sort of enclosed location for all of this as well. So a bit like Diamond City is separate from the rest of the Fallout 4 map in that you go through a load zone to get in there. The same sort of thing will apply to Highway Town. It also looks like a place that they're expecting players to spend a fair bit of time in, because this is where you will find the ghoul and where the bounty hunting feature will be sort of centred on, as well as a lot of the story and some of the other bits and pieces going on as well. So it should be an interesting spot. They're apparently planning on adding some more stuff to Highway Town in future as well, so it'll be interesting to see how that evolves as the game goes on too. Beyond that, there's a whole bunch of other interesting areas around the map. There is the town of Athens, which is a real-world location. It's actually way off to the north of the spot, but they've kind of dragged it down a bit and put it into the map. It's a destroyed university town, so it does look like it's been absolutely ruined, and yeah, it is the place that I believe is the central point for the University of Ohio in real life, so they've dragged that in there. What I do find slightly weird is that just across the bridge from Point Pleasant in real life are a couple of towns which are literally right on the river, and those are not in the map. So it's a strange choice for Bethesda to not use those, but yet to pull something else from miles away, and I do find that a tiny little bit disappointing and a bit weird, but nonetheless, the region does have a lot of interesting stuff in it, so that is cool. So another really cool location is Jackson Junkyard. I'm looking forward to having a look around this. The area looks like it's been interestingly designed and is going to be one of the focuses for one of the new events. It's a raider stronghold and a spot where they are breeding, training and armouring Deathclaws for the Rust King's army. So yeah, armoured Deathclaws should be an interesting feature in Burning Springs. Speaking of the Rust King, his seat of power is the Rust Kingdom, which is an interesting location that I think is going to figure quite heavily. Not been able to see too much of the inside of it, well, a couple of bits here and there, but one of its more stunning features is the front gate, which is carved in the shape of or built, perhaps might be a better word, sculpted, in the shape of a giant Deathclaw head. So, yeah, that looks like an absolutely awesomely designed little feature. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that in person. It's very, very cool. Beyond that, there is the Super Duper Mart that I mentioned earlier. It'll be interesting to have a look around. There is a mini golf course that should be interesting to explore. There is a Civil War fort somewhere in Burning Springs as well, and a whole bunch of other spots as well. Yeah, definitely some cool stuff for exploring, and it looks like it should be good fun. So, in terms of the new gameplay elements, looking at the new public events first, there are two of them. Sinkhole Solutions is one, and Gearing Up is the other one. So Sinkhole Solutions is probably the less exciting stylistically of the two. It is relatively standard fare for a public event. You're heading to a location not terribly far from Highway Town, where there are a bunch of critters that are apparently threatening the town. They are nesting in the area, and we have to take the critters out, destroy their nests, and ultimately defeat a boss. So fairly standard fare. In the footage I've seen, it was rad scorpions. Don't know if that is consistent or if that's going to be something that changes. It might be a random selection of critters, or it may always be rad scorpions. Don't know at this stage. The boss, however, was an Ogua, or however you say it. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. The giant turtle monster, the cryptid. Which struck me as a bit weird, given that it seemed to be a rad scorpion nest. If it's going to be rad scorpions, surely something like a giant rad scorpion boss would have made more sense. I don't know. It seemed like an odd choice, that one, but yeah. Nonetheless, the event seems to run okay, and it's a public event. It's fine. The other one is a bit more interesting to me because it's a little bit more unique, and that is Gearing Up. So as I mentioned, this one's down at Jackson Junkyard, the Raider stronghold, where they are training Deathclaws. So the plan is to help the Raiders defend the junkyard from what would appear to be more of their own, which is a bit weird. I think it's more of a staged attack as part of the training of the Deathclaws. Seems like an odd thing. Why would you volunteer to run in there and be Deathclaw food just to train a Deathclaw? I don't know. Raiders, they don't make a lot of sense, do they? Anyway, the player's job is to hunt down scrap to make armour for the Deathclaw, and then once the Deathclaw is armoured up, to defend it as it wipes out a few more attackers, including ghouls as well, and then to defeat a very, very large and very, very cool looking boss. So that should be good fun as well. Definitely looking forward to trying that one. I think the theme and the sort of style of this one is a little bit more unique, a little different compared to most of the public events in the game, so it should be something a little bit new and unique in its flavour. So looking forward to trying that one out. It should be good fun. And that brings us on to the bounty hunting feature. So this is the really big tentpole thing that is new and obviously is tied into the ghoul's presence in Highway Town, for that is where you will find him. So in order to dive into this new gameplay feature, head to Highway Town, find the ghoul. He's hanging out in a bar. Of course he is. And he will be standing there with an absolute mountain of bounties that he needs to track down. They'll be on a table nearby. And obviously he is but one man and can only be in one place at a time. Except he technically can't, but anyway. That's how the game works. So he'll need some help with these bounties. And they are divided into two categories. There are grunt hunts and there are head hunts. So the grunt hunts come up first. They are the lesser tier. Basically, you'll go to one of 20 locations. There will be more added to the potential list going on in future. But for now, one of these 20 locations, wherein you will find a unique named enemy that you have to hunt down and eliminate, probably defended by a lot of other people in the area. And when you take him out, that will grant you a bunch of rewards and some legendaries as well. So fairly basic for the grunt hunts. So these are designed around sort of solo play in individual, maybe one or two players running it. So definitely on the easier end of this particular feature. And the main thing with that is that once you've built up a few of these and completed enough grunt hunts, the ghoul will offer you a more dangerous task, taking out a more powerful bounty in the form of a head hunt. So that will function more like a public event. Whereas the two previous ones will be going into the rotation with everything else, so the top of the hour, 20 past 22 rotation. Headhunts are player triggered, so they can occur at any time. There can only be one of them active at a time on the map, but anybody can jump into an active headhunt and pitch in and get rewards from it as well. So these are going to be more dangerous enemies, closer to a public event in style, and yeah, they will have interesting themes, can pop up in a bunch of different locations. The main boss enemy obviously will be your target, but beyond that there will be supporting foes as well, I suppose. It's like looking for a Blood Eagle gang leader and the rest of the Blood Eagles in the area supporting them. That kind of style. Except it's not necessarily Blood Eagles. It will be things like clowns or musicians or... well, I think they mentioned grannies as well being a possible group of enemies, so it's definitely a lot of tongue-in-cheek to these headhunts as well. They look like they should be good fun, and this is where you'll be getting a lot of unique rewards. Obviously, the public events and the main story all have their fair share of unique rewards to be grabbed as well, but the headhunts, those in particular, do have the unique rewards as far as the bounty hunting system goes. So we'll have presumably camp plans, there's new weapons and armour and outfits as well. And you will also be able to get unique new mods for weapons as well, including some that are specially designed to work well for ghoul characters. Presumably some that will work well for human characters as well, but they did mention specially designed for ghouls. So we're talking things like scopes and suppressors, that style of mod, rather than anything else. Yeah, should be interesting to see how that works and might affect the functioning of your weapons as we get them. And I think this should be fun stuff. So a bunch of different locations and lots of interesting stuff to get into, although... what the lifespan of it will be like once we've got all the rewards is anybody's guess. I'm sure they will add more in time, but as usual with these things, they probably won't be able to add them as fast as we can clear them, so we'll have to see how that goes. One of the cool things that is available that we do know about so far, obviously we've not shared any details of the rewards, but one thing we do know we'll be getting via this system is access to the ghoul's unique gun, so that should be interesting. A new weapon, new style, each with its own abilities and stuff, which apparently is quite good fun to play with, or so they said. So I guess we'll have to test it and find out. But yeah, that's one of the unique rewards that is available. If you don't want to grind out the grunt hunts, though, in order to get access to the head hunts and the unique rewards that are present there, then there is a way to speed this along. The ghoul, as you can probably imagine, is not averse to making a few caps at the expense of the player, and can basically be bribed to give you headhunts more often. Obviously, you're still limited to one headhunt active at a time on a server, so that option presumably won't come up at all if there's already one running. But outside of that, you can trigger them faster through basically bribing the ghoul. That said, of course, I suspect you will be able to spend caps on this faster than you can make caps, so there will be some limits in that sense. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing, but with an entire adventure mode server contributing to the headhunts, in that regard, they'll always be popping up and you can always jump into other people's, so that should be fine, I would think. It should be ticking over quite regularly, especially in December, January, and the early part of this update. One question I do have hanging over me at this point is just how soloable will the headhunts be? Obviously, it's designed to function as a public event and have a lot of players jumping in adventure mode. But if you were to want to play it on, say, a private server, or nobody just jumps in for whatever reason, how will you get on? I'd imagine the play would be to suit up in your power armor or whatever and pick your biggest guns and see how you get on. Something I will want to test on the PTS, we'll see how that goes, but it's not the intended thing, so I imagine it will be hard. With a lot of public events, they are very, very much doable solo, but not all of them. If you look at, say, Eviction Notice, that one is really, really difficult to do on your own. It's possible, but it is difficult, so where it's going to fall on that scale is something I look forward to finding out in the next little while. So there we go. Overall, I think it's a cool new area. It looks like the story will be interesting to explore, and we've got some cool new gameplay elements with both the bounty hunting and the new public events. I do have a few extra points to add on the end here in terms of the Q&A that they did. They included a Q&A sort of section at the end of the showcase. So, yeah, a whole bunch of questions got asked. I have distilled this down to a more rapid-fire format, so we won't be here quite so long as this is running on now. But yeah, there's a cool list of little extra details. So, this will hit the public test server on the 2nd of October, so that should be tomorrow, unless anything changes. This was the date they gave us a couple of weeks ago, and these things can on occasion change, so if it doesn't show up, well, they're probably still working on it. But they haven't said anything yet that would indicate that the date might move, so I would imagine by the time you see this, they might well have confirmed the date anyway, so you'll probably know by now. But yeah, 2nd of October is provisionally the targeted date for the public test server. Accessed, as usual, of course, through Steam on PC if you're playing that way. Otherwise, yeah, jump onto streams. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people, myself included probably, who will stream some of the PTS. They will be giving a whole bunch more news and information about the upcoming update on Fallout Day. So it's the 23rd of October, the future anniversary of the bombs dropping in the Fallout world. That's when they're doing showcases these days for like the things they're planning on working on over the next year or so. So we'll get a look ahead to 2026 that time, as well as a few extra details on the Burning Springs update. So, end of October for that one. Can we camp in the new Burning Springs region? Yes, you can. Much like with Skyline Valley, you can camp as per anywhere else on the map, but in Burning Springs if you want to. So it looks like I'll have a whole bunch of new places to scour for cool locations and new builds to do in a deserty region, which should be interesting. Curious to see what they're going to do for new build sets and stuff like that that might blend into the area, and new bits and pieces to add to the building menu. That should be fun for those of us who are into the camp building side of things. Milepost Zero. We kind of vaguely touched on this earlier, but you'd be interested to know Milepost Zero is closing in December. The Blue Ridge Caravan have decided that Skyline Valley is not the place they want to do business anymore. In a sort of non-law-friendly way. Obviously, the caravan system down there has not worked very well. Their current fix is, I mean, it works, but it's not great. And the whole caravan running system has not been particularly successful down there in the just over a year that it's now been in the game. So basically, they are packing that up, closing it down, and moving the whole system over to Highway Town in Burning Springs. And it sounds like we'll be able to run caravans around the Burning Springs region instead of Skyline Valley, which hopefully won't have the same issues. I guess they'll have got into it knowing that the issues that came up with Skyline Valley and sort of prepared from the get-go to avoid that. But yeah, fingers crossed that'll work out. But yeah, Milepost Zero will close, and the people who are currently based there will be moving over to the new region to restart their business, hopefully with a little bit more luck than they had the first time around. Fishing. Is there anything for people who are into fishing? The short answer is yes. There will be new fish added to the new region, as we would entirely expect, and there will be new local legends going into the area as well. So if you want to try and catch those, that should be quite interesting too. There was a question regarding recommended levels for the Burning Springs region, and they basically said there is no recommended level for it. So this will scale with the character's level, much like the rest of the map does. I would guess, this is just me guessing here, but I would guess that certain events like the public events and the headhunts in particular as part of the bounty hunting, that will probably be a bit more challenging if you're a lower level player. That said, there'll be plenty of other players around taking part in it, so it'll not be an issue anyway. But Beyond that, then everything will scale as per the One Wasteland feature, as it has done in-game for quite a while now, so hopefully that should be fine. And if you want to go there straight out of the vault, you can. Be interesting to see how that pans out, but it is technically an option, so yeah, should be cool to see how that goes. Are there any new cryptids in the new region? No, there are not. There are no new cryptids being added with this update. There are, however, unique mutated versions of the existing ones, which will apply to the Burning Springs region, so definitely something to look for there, but they're variations rather than outright new cryptids. Speaking of mutations, though, what happens if we nuke the Burning Springs region? Well, we absolutely can nuke the Burning Springs region. You cannot hit Highway Town, as that is intended to be a player hub, so to save on annoyances, like with a number of areas in the forest, they are making that a non-nukeable spot. However, the rest of it can be nuked, and there are apparently unique considerations and effects if you do nuke the area, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. How do we get to the Burning Springs region? Well, you may have already seen that the bridge is changing in Point Pleasant. It's sort of pointing across the river and off the map at the moment, and the cultists there are making adjustments and are, well, repairing the bridge as we speak. That bridge will be fully repaired come December and be the best way to get into the Burning Springs region. It is the way they are intending for us to get in there, and it is the way I would recommend going because the story expects you to go that way. If you try and get there any other way, you're going to end up missing the story or potentially approaching the story in an unintended way and losing out on the impact of it. So I do recommend crossing that bridge. There's a slight issue with an open world spot wherein you can be attacked sort of out in the main map. So if you're a Fallout first player, maybe cross solo in a private world first, just so you get the story experience and not have to worry about somebody else running across and taking out all the enemies first. But that notwithstanding, the bridge is the way to go. Beyond that, obviously, once you've discovered map locations, you'll be able to fast travel to them. And there are ways in which you can swim across the Ohio River. From what I understand, though, it's only a couple of places. In the main, you won't actually be able to get into the region by swimming across the river. So, yeah, you might be able to find a couple of those spots, but generally speaking, the bridge is the way to go the first time, and then once you've been there, you'll probably want to fast travel anyway. So that's the way that works. So, looking ahead to 2026, they are planning to add new features to Highway Town, they are planning to add new features to the bounty hunting and such, so that the whole thing should be expanding and developed on as time goes on. At some stage in 2026, I'm sure there's a couple of you will be happy to hear, they are planning on adding a new raid to the game as well. As to where that might be, who knows, but it is coming on down the line. Personally, still not a fan, still don't think raids should be in the game. I think they are offensive to a significant portion of the population. But there is another one coming, because apparently they don't listen to a reason, so, you know, it is what it is. And last but not least, in 2026, there will be new additions, changes, modifications being made to the ghoul player type in the game. So no details on what that might be yet, but we've known they were planning on iterating and tweaking and adjusting once we'd had some time to kind of figure out how players use it and how players engage with being a ghoul. So yeah, new additions and things going on down the line. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier, but I'll mention it again just in case I didn't. If you meet the ghoul in Burning Springs, you will find that if you are a ghoul yourself, there are unique dialogue options there for you. I'm guessing there are a different set of experiences if you're a human class player as well, but obviously one ghoul to another, there will be an interesting interaction there, so that should be quite cool too. And there we have it, Burning Springs. That is everything we got to see in the showcase that Bethesda shared earlier this month, so very, very grateful to be included in that one. Glad to get an early look at it. As I say, 2nd of October, tomorrow probably, for the PTS opening, and I will dive into that on live stream when it does, and we'll have a look around it. Obviously, we'll have to slap some spoiler warnings on that one, because story and stuff, there will be spoilers. But yeah, if you want to join us for that, then absolutely do. You get a look at it. Of course, the public test server will be public. If you are playing Fallout 76 on PC via Steam, you will already have access to that. It's basically like installing a whole second version of the game, though, so bear that in mind if you haven't done it already. But yes, otherwise, I imagine there'll be plenty of streams you can watch if you would like to. And yeah, loads of content coming on, because I want to do specific content pieces on the bounty hunting and probably on some other bits and pieces like the new events as well on down the line. So keep an eye out for that one. Likes, subs, notification bell, all that good stuff, and then you get updated as and when I upload. But for now, thank you very much for watching. Hope you found this useful and informative. If you like the video, as I said, like, subs, all that good stuff are appreciated. We've got social media links in the description if you want reliable updates on what's going on. And down below, we've got channel memberships if you'd like to support the channel directly, which I very, very much appreciate for everyone who's done that. Thank you very, very much. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.